Shall we begin? Let's begin now. Let's begin now.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Is that all you got?
Let's begin now.
What up? Oh, for sure.
dreams, I walk free in the city streets. 2,500 days plus 50 weeks, doing hard time for these WikiLeaks, trying to bring the truth out. Man, it only gets you heat, and then they gag you. You don't get to speak, and when you get the leak, they try to hit the leak. The masters of the masses, they want the shit to street. That's why my middle finger's up to these sick elites playing on the regular.
You keep the messenger.
Free speech is the freedom of press. Take your deepest, darkest secrets, never leave them unsaid. If I'm a thief, then I'm a thief for the people you dread. The people want the red, while the blue you keep them in bed. Seeking the sheep, keep them asleep, deceiving the weak. Keep seeking the leech till you cease, and I see your defeat. Until I'm deceased underneath a freeze a red sheet. Become a dead man, then I hit the switch and release. Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs, Goldman Sachs is your creditor.
You keep the messenger.
And outside my window a figure quickly creeps. They dark as night like some motherfucking chimney sweeps. Whiskey what my Mickey keeps, dying in my kidneys weak. Silence of my risky tweets, what the grand jury seeks. I'm wanting peace, like 7 years in Tibet. Now rest in peace, like 7 years under threat. Cause I've released 7 vaults, they upset. They ended the rape sentence, but the US still insists to rest. I guess it's a sin to take the truth and disseminate. And okay to Gandhi, take him and eliminate. And I don't say I'm great, just wanna say what's fake. But if they kill me, a million others will take my place. The CIA's post like a knife the sharpest. All hypocrisy, lies, and heartless. They want to stop me, my life, make my heart quit. Cause democracy dies in the darkness. Cause democracy dies in the darkness.
Set it up.
You kill the messenger.
You kill the messenger.
Democracy dies in the darkness.
Darkness.
Hi everyone, how are you? 59 people watching. By the time I go live, usually on a Tuesday, there's usually at least 160 people watching by this stage by the time my countdown is finished. And by the end of the stream, 5 minutes into the stream, I've usually got over 250, 260 people watching. Right now, we're at 68. I'll be talking about that, the way I'm being suppressed, a little bit later. Yeah, hi everyone. I was down in London for a personal thing the weekend. We went to the Science Museum in London. I've got to say, if you've never been there, go. It's free. It's totally free. If you know anybody who's a flat earther, take them there. If you've got any kids, take them there. Spend the day there. Honestly, there's so much to see, and it really is quite remarkable seeing things that you grew up with now in museums as well. Yeah, it was fantastic. I want to talk about a couple of things just before I get started. First thing is this. I saw this trending today: boycott the sun and don't buy the sun. And this is all because of Ben Stokes, apparently the scum, as I am going to call it from this point on. Wrote a story about his personal life. I'm going to just read you this. This is his statement. Ben Stokes is the cricketer who the Sun wrote a piece about today. He said this: "Today the Sun has seen fit to publish extremely painful, sensitive and personal details concerning events in the private lives of my family going back more than 31 years. It is hard to find words that adequately describe such low and despicable behaviour. Disguised as journalism, I cannot conceive of anything more immoral, heartless or contemptuous to the feelings and circumstances of my family." So I won't read all of it because it's a long thing. All I'll say is I promise you this. I promise you. I didn't read into this story any further, and neither should you. They've obviously published something on their front page today about his private life that goes back years. You know, it's the scum. What do you expect? The only thing really I care about this story is just highlighting the fact that the owner of the scum has, you know, an oil company in the Golan Heights at the moment, currently stealing oil from Syria. Rupert Murdoch. Unbelievable that they still get away with this. This is the standard of journalism. This is what they call journalism in the UK. Digging up stuff about people's private lives from years ago just because now they smack a cricket ball about the pitch. He was Sir Ben Stokes a few weeks ago, according to them. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Somebody, as I looked at the chat, somebody was saying, are you Brexiteer or Remainer? I got asked that question the other week. Somebody honestly just said, I said, hi, I'm so-and-so, so-and-so. And he said to me, are you Brexiteer or Remainer? I'm like, shit. That's the sum of our parts now, is it? Whether we support Brexit or support Remain. Oh, God, this country's in a state it really is. There is only one story today, and it's got nothing to do with the shambolic Brexit situation for once, because some Saudi oil fields were hit with something and were set ablaze, and apparently now we might be at World War III in a matter of days. Let's get into it. This is ridiculous, honestly. This is the picture that they print out. There's pinpoint accuracy there of 17 facilities or 17 parts of a facility in Saudi that basically, you know, put this thing out of action. But nobody was killed or anything like that, and it can be repaired. So it looks like this is a shot across the bows. Now, the Houthis from Yemen have admitted it. But I just want to point this out. They can pinpoint the entry point of a Patriot missile half a world away and blame the culprit. They've said, oh, it come from the direction of Iran. They've blamed Iran. I saw an hour ago. But expects us to believe there's not a single grain image of Epstein's high security 24-hour maximum security CCTV the night he was suicided in Supermax. Who on this planet, who in the chat right now, who believes any of this shit? Who believes any of it? Now, the Houthis of Yemen, that Saudi Arabia is at war with, I'll get to that in a minute. The Houthis have said it was us. We did it. We did it because, you know, you're crippling our country and you've caused the largest, or what the UN calls the largest humanitarian crisis on the planet. But, you know, I digress. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the Houthis said it was them. The US have said, no, it was Iran. Just the same way as they said, oh, those oil tankers a few weeks ago were Iran. Based on no evidence whatsoever, a grain image. And now they're saying that this is evidence. This, just entry points on the thing, is evidence it was Iran. How is that evidence it's Iran? That's not evidence of anything. Who else in the media is asking that? Can I ask you that question? Who else in the media is asking, who believes any of this shit? Who here in the media is asking, did anything happen with Epstein, by the way? And why is it you can have CCTV footage of this, but not of his jail cell? Who else in the media is asking this? Anybody? It's Iraq all over again. I saw a video, right? An SUV takes double strike from Zeus himself in Brussels. This is from RT. Saw a video. This is a lightning strike hitting that car twice. It's amazing. I thought, yeah. An SUV in Russia gets hit twice by a massive bolt of lightning, expecting Mike Pompeo to say the strikes came from the direction of Iran any moment now in a presser. Honestly, I think if you gave Mike Pompeo enough leeway, he would blame Iran for the Kennedy assassination. This is Iraq all over again, this is. all over again. They are manufacturing, they are trying desperately to manufacture consent for war. They are seemingly using the Brexit debacle right now, certainly take advantage of it, that's for sure, as a smokescreen, in my opinion, to inflict as much damage to our human rights, democracy, the fourth estate, world peace, and our own intelligence as possible. And the media, it seems, are just quoting it uncritically. Just, oh yeah, the US is saying it was Iran. What? Did you learn nothing from Iraq? Who in our media corps is actually holding Boris Johnson to task on any of this? Or are they just talking about the Brexit nonsense? Because he's going along with it. I'll show you what Dominic Raab said in a bit. Our Foreign Secretary. I'll show you. They're going along with it. You know, is any of our media going to Boris Johnson? Boris, yeah, quick question. Why are you America's bitch? Why are you Trump's poodle? When Trump says jump, how high do you jump? These are all legitimate questions you could ask based on what's happening right now. Is any of our media, for instance, saying to Boris Johnson, Boris, it seems you know Her Majesty's Navy? It seems you're using it as Donald Trump's international coast guard. You know? It seems it's being used by the US in acts of piracy. Do you care to, answer why? Talking about piracy, by the way, yeah, our government's actually acting like pirates. Just stealing gold from Venezuela, just stealing their gold. 1.4 billion of it. Oh, any of our media saying, hold on a minute, the democratic elections over there are meant to be the safest in the world, according to Jimmy Carter, and all the independent observers who came back from there, people such as Kevin Zeese, world-renowned Kevin Zeese, have said, well, no, actually, all the elections are really totally fair. It's unriggable. 54% of the ballots are counted afterwards and tallied up with everything. And it's amazing. There's fingerprints in the voting booths. Was anybody saying that to him? Why are you taking their gold? This is... Huh? That's just a socialist country. What are you taking their gold off for them? Nobody in the media is asking adversarial questions. At all. Nobody is. And anybody who is... Anybody who is asking any questions about this, any adversarial questions at all, they're silenced. And in the case of the Labour Party, ejected from the party very quickly. I digress. Back to this steaming pile of bullshit. So the Houthis say it was us. The Houthis from Yemen have said it was us. So why, you might add, well, why are Yemen bombing Saudi Arabia? Because you might not have heard, but, Saudi Arabia are crushing Yemen right now. Absolutely crushing them. In fact, you need to know about the humanitarian crisis in Yemen. It's caused by a war. There was a popular uprising. They tried to uprise and get democracy. And they nearly did. Ousted the dictator. The dictator promised them election, never gave it them. Overstayed his welcome, so they ousted him. He ran off to Saudi Arabia, said, Saudi Arabia, please help me. So, with our permission, in the UK and the US, Saudi Arabia started bombing Yemen and bombed it into the world's largest humanitarian crisis. It's man-made, this crisis is. As the conflict enters its fourth year, over 22 million people, or 3/4 of the population, 3/4, need urgent humanitarian aid and protection. Civilians are bearing the brunt of the violence. Of course, it's always the poorest. Millions of people have been forced to flee from their homes. Women and children are among the most vulnerable people. Yeah, these liberal lefties, these lefty-loving liberals who are, the women and the children, What, are they shouting about the Yemeni women, your children, are they? Every 10 minutes, a child under 5 in Yemen dies of a preventable disease as a result of this. Millions of people are hungry, starving actually, half the country, known as starving. Cholera remains a serious threat. Yeah, 2019. The largest outbreak of cholera in history. In history. In the last year, more than 1 million people suffered from cholera or watery diarrhea. Water and sanitation systems struggle to keep pace. I think it's 60% of those are children that contracted cholera. Million of them. Millions of people do not have access to basic services. Humanitarian aid in Yemen depends on access. All ports must remain open. And of course, they've blockaded the ports. It's siege warfare. They're not letting anything in or out without their permission. Aid, medicine. Ending the conflict is the only way to resolve it. And the humanitarian community is responding but urgently needs. It says financial support. But that's why the Houthis have struck out. If it was the Houthis, of course. But they said it was. And this is all because they wanted to crush a democratic uprising in Yemen, Saudi Arabia did, at the request of the guy who fled. What that article didn't say is just how badly the Saudi Arabians are punishing that country. I've shown details on my show in the past, details of how they've bombed water treatment facilities. Yeah, water treatment facilities in a country that has the largest cholera outbreak in history, with the majority of them affecting children. Bomb the water facilities, causing the cholera outbreak, making it worse, of course. And then bomb the cholera treatment facility as well, which I highlighted in the video. On purpose. We train their pilots. They are armed by Western weapons that they get from us. Not anymore, but I'll come to that in a bit. There's been an update on that, which I'll talk about in a bit. Still selling them weapons. So they're getting armed to the teeth from us. We're then training their pilots over here in the RAF. We're then they're using Western intelligence to pick out the targets. We're doing everything between us and America. We're doing everything but push the button to drop the frigging bombs. And the Houthis strike a Saudi oil field, killing nobody. And oh my God! How dare they? How dare they? It must have been Iran. Let's start a world war. Charles Shoebridge nailed Dominic Raab, our Foreign Secretary. I think he's our Foreign Secretary. I don't know. That position's changed so much. He was Brexit, wasn't he, Dominic Raab? Oh yeah, he was the Brexit Secretary that voted against the deal he negotiated. Just spoke to Secretary Pompeo about this egregious attack on the security of Saudi Arabia. Egregious. This was the reckless attempt to damage regional security and disrupt global oil supplies. The UK condemns such behaviour unreservedly. Charles Shoebridge nails him. In a single tweet, the hypocrisy of the United Kingdom foreign policy. UK government has never condemned Saudi Arabia for slaughtering thousands of Yemen civilians with US and UK arms. Never condemned them. But when the Houthis hit back, killing nobody, it's an egregious attack that's unreservedly condemned. Or, as my mate Johnny Mack puts it, bomb Yemeni children good, bomb Saudi oil bad. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the state of our country right now and the state of the world right now. Putin's laughing at this. The rest of the world are laughing at it. They're making jokes about it. Putin trolling the US with great effect. Putin advises Saudis to purchase S-400s to prevent future possible attacks, while Iran's Rouhani and Zarif can't stop laughing in Ankara summit. He's talking about the S-400 missile defense system that he's been selling to Turkey and Syria.
As for Saudi Arabia, the very same sacred book of Quran says that any kind of violence is unacceptable, except for one kind of violence, when you protect your people. We are ready to protect the people. We are ready to help Saudi Arabia to protect their people. And they need to make one clever decision, as Iran did, buying our S-300, and as Mr. Erdogan did by deciding to buy the most advanced S-400 Triumph air defense systems from Russia. These kind of systems are capable of defending any kind of infrastructure in Saudi Arabia from any kind of attack.
Why our weapon systems won't get back and get through? And you got Erdogan and Rouhani, they're laughing. They're laughing at this. It's pathetic. Expert level trolling. The United States and the United Kingdom are itching for war with Iran. They will take any opportunity they can to try and get it. And they're all doing it under the smokescreen of Brexit. Brexit's going on and nobody's interested in this. And it's whatever. Yeah, Brexit's more important. That's what everybody's thinking. It's not. It's not. Our media, just as they did with Iraq right now, are falling in line, lockstep, and so are the MPs. The MPs, you've seen them all positioning with their statements. And the media are falling in line just as they did with Iraq. All while our population is fixated on other problems whilst their liberties are systematically eroded by an increasingly authoritarian state. That's what's happening right now under your noses. Whilst everybody is running around screaming democracy and Brexit and Iran did that, did they? Iran bombed those Saudi things. You know what? I don't believe a goddamn word you say unless you provide the evidence, and you haven't provided any evidence whatsoever. None at all. And you know what? Even if it was Iran that did this, can you blame them? We're at war with Iran. We're just not firing missiles. We're firing off sanctions. Firing off, all sorts of technological weapons, malware, etc., to try and hack their infrastructure and get their power grid down, etc. Just like they did in Venezuela. They're not firing missiles, but they are still trying to cripple the economy and trying to kill people. Just as they did in 1953 when they overthrew it, installing the Shah, a dictator who for 26 years ruled the country with an iron fist, creating the SEVAUX, torturing and just some of the worst human rights abuses seen in the last century came from our Western-backed Shah, the Iranian king. And it wasn't until the 1979 revolution that Iran actually overthrew it. And even then, they overthrew it and you ended up with basically a theistic dictatorship. Whereas what you had in 1953 was an actual democracy with Mossadegh. We created this whole mess ourselves 70 years ago or 64 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever it is. We created it ourselves. And now we're doing it again. And nobody in the media seems to want to mention history. You are all spineless, all of you. Talking to Saudi Arabia. Talking to Saudi Arabia and their war in Yemen. I've shown this, I'll show it again. You know how Yemen is the world's largest humanitarian crisis because of what Saudi Arabia are doing. You know, bombing it, killing people, bombing it into oblivion, causing a massive outbreak of cholera, biggest outbreak of cholera ever, and then bombing the cholera treatment factories, bombing the water facilities. Obviously, cholera spread by dirty water. They bomb the water treatment facilities. They do it on purpose, and we're backing it. We're picking out the targets. Between us and the US, we're, you know, arming them, causing this humanitarian crisis where children, poor children, are just dying every few minutes. Well, you might remember in June, I did a video about this. The UK arms sales to Saudi Arabia were ruled unlawful in a court. We had to stop them, to stop issuing licenses because, as you know, that article goes on to explain, it's against the law for us to sell weapons to other countries if we know it's going to be used in, you know, ways that are going to infringe on human rights or human rights violations. And stopped it. Stopped selling them arms. Well, the laws, made unlawful, remember, the laws don't affect this government because Liz Truss has had to apologise for a, quote, inadvertent Saudi military sales. I'll read a little bit of this. The UK's International Trade Secretary has apologised to a court for 2 breaches of a pledge not to licence exports to Saudi Arabia that can be used in the Yemen conflict. Ministers to stop approving shipments in June. Ministers promised to stop approving shipments in June, rather, after a challenge by campaigners at the Court of Appeal. Liz Truss said that she granted the granting of licences for £435,000 of radio spares and a £200 air cooler for the Royal Saudi Land Forces had been inadvertent and internal inquiries taking place. I love how they you know, have an internal inquiry into these things and then find themselves not guilty. In a letter to the Commons Committee on Arms Exports Controls, Ms Truss said routine analysis of statistics found a licence for the air cooler for a Renault Sherpa Light Scout had been issued just days after the ruling, and a licence for the export of 260 items of radio spares had been issued in July. To date, the letter said 180 items from that order with a value of $261,000 had been shipped. Ms Truss said, quote, I have apologised to the court unreservedly for the error in granting these licences. Sure they were an error. Sure they were, Truss. Ben Scarborough says, on a normal day, this would be big news and lead to a few resignations, perhaps. These are not normal days. She should be sacked or she should resign. But these are not normal days. Barely a whisper. Barely a whisper will be said about that, I think. It'll only, if anything does get said, I think it's only because if people pressurise, put enough pressure on the government to do something here. But I find it hilarious that these are the same group of people, these Tories, who have been running around saying nobody is above the law when it comes to Julian Assange. Well, it seems in the UK all the Queen's subjects are equal, but some are more equal than others, aren't they? I want to get back to Saudi Arabia and talk about Saudi Arabia for a second. Donald Trump tweeted this out. This is how he responded to it immediately. He said, Saudi Arabian oil supply was attacked. There is reason to believe that we know the culprit, are locked and loaded depending on verification. They're locked and loaded, he says, but are waiting to hear from the kingdom. Saudi Arabia, they're a kingdom. Mohammed bin Salman, he's a prince. Assad, it's a dictatorship. He's a dictator. He's a brutal dictator. MBS, who chopped a journalist up not long ago. Chopped a journalist up. He's locked and loaded on their behalf. But are waiting to hear from the kingdom as to why they believe was the cause of as to who they believe was the cause of the attack and what terms we should proceed. It's incredible, isn't it? Allah Pundit nails it. The good news is we have a new national security advisor. The bad news is it looks like it's Mohammed bin Salman. One person in the US I saw above all else being, well, just brilliant on this today. Tulsi Gabbard. She said, despicable. Offering to place our military assets under the command of a foreign country, Saudi Arabia, is a disgrace and betrayal of my patriotic brothers and sisters in uniform and to our constitution. We are not your prostitutes and you are not our pimp. Take a listen to this.
Yesterday, President Trump offered to place our military, my brothers and sisters in uniform, under the command of Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the dictator of the Islamist Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Trump said we are locked and loaded, but are waiting to hear from the kingdom as to who they believe was the cause of this attack and under what terms we would proceed. Now, Mr. President, as you know, I have never engaged in hateful rhetoric against you or your family, and I never will. But you're offering our military assets to the dictator of Saudi Arabia to use as he sees fit is a betrayal of my brothers and sisters in uniform who are ready to give our lives for our country, not for the Islamist dictator of Saudi Arabia. And for you to think that you can pimp out our proud servicemen and women to the Prince of Saudi Arabia is disgraceful. And it once again shows that you are unfit to serve as our commander-in-chief. As a member of Congress and as a soldier, I and all of my brothers and sisters in uniform have taken an oath to protect and defend the American people and the Constitution of the United States of America. There is nothing in our Constitution that gives you the power to go to war without the express consent of Congress. What to speak of giving you the power to offer our military to a foreign power like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to use as they wish. President Trump, your words and actions are a betrayal of my brothers and sisters in uniform, the American people, and our Constitution. My fellow service members and I, we are not your prostitutes. You are not our pimp.
That's leadership, is what that is. Leadership. Of course, John Kerry has said this in a Senate hearing. He basically said that Saudi Arabia has pretty much said, yeah, we'll pay for you if you'll just sort out things with Iran, etc. in the region. And any other, any other country that they have a problem with. Alan Mate said this, and he retweeting Matthew Iglesias. He said, this is actually Trump articulating part of the underlying logic behind bipartisan support for the Saudi regime going back decades. What offends DC types is the fact that Trump says it out loud. Now, this is a transcript of the meeting that you might remember him having with Mohammed bin Salman. You can see President Trump, he's asked, have you promised the Saudis that the US will protect them? And he said this, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. I haven't promised the Saudis that. We have to sit down with the Saudis and work something out. And the Saudis want very much for us to protect them. But I say, well, we have to work. That was an attack on Saudi Arabia, and that wasn't an attack on us. But we would certainly help them. They've been a great ally. They spent $400 billion in our country over the last number of years. $400 billion. That's $1.5 million jobs. $1.5 million jobs, rather. And they're not the ones that, unlike some countries, where they want terms and conditions. They want to say, can we borrow the money at 0% over the next 400 years? No, no. And here's the highlighted bit. Saudi Arabia pays cash. They've helped us out from the standpoint of jobs and all of the other things, and they've actually helped us. I would call and I would say, listen, our oil prices, our gasoline is too high. You got to let more go. You know that? And Prince Salman said, yeah. And Matt, calls it out for what it is. This is, although it's calling Trump out Saudi Arabia's bitch, he's only doing in the open what they've been doing ever since the early 1970s, 73 or whatever it was, when Kissinger went over to Saudi and brokered the deal with the petrodollar. basing our global reserve currency in the very thing that they say is choking us out of existence. Makes sense, doesn't it? Makes sense. That, right there, that's leadership. It's leadership. And there's a few more politicians in America, and a hell of a lot over here, well, a hell of a lot in America and over here, who could learn from that. Because that's a true leadership from a veteran who's standing up and saying it. I personally think that's a good thing. What more? I personally think it's a good thing that she stood up. Ooh, sorry. But I mean, look at that. Saudi Arabia pays cash. They've helped us out from the standpoint of jobs and all the other things, and they've actually helped us. What more proof do you need that the United States is just a military-industrial complex with a flag? Run by an unelected national security state. And our country is hanging on to their coat like a dog, like a lapdog. That's what our country's doing. That's what Boris Johnson's doing over here. It really is a joke. I want to stay on the subject of Tulsi Gabbard because this is incredible. You're going to love this. So you might remember a few weeks ago, she it was last week, wasn't it? The Democratic debate. Last week was the Democratic debate, and she didn't make it. Now, I've done a video about that. I spoke with Jamal about it, on how Jamal Thomas, and we talked about how the CNN are, just picking and choosing the polls that they recognise should keep her off the debate. She was polling over 3% in like 26 polls. CNN didn't recognise any of them, seemingly, and they won't tell us what the process is. They won't tell anybody what the process is for them picking the polls. So much for transparency. But this is how she responded. Take a look at this video that she posted this morning. It's incredible.
Doing a bench workout.
So difficult to do once, once. That's
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now.
I've had to turn the sound off because I might get a.
Got a real good feeling.
Might get a copyright strike for the sound. That's winning. She's incredible, honestly. She's absolutely incredible. I told you guys right from the very beginning. She's fantastic. She really is. I I responded to that, by the way. I said, thousands of Americans just asked, Siri, why was Tulsi Gabbard not in the debate the other night? And if they ask that, it'd actually breed the top search on Google. If they actually copy that and put it in the search on Google, it goes through to an article. Top article is well, one of these. It's the top news. Is an interview she did with the Dave Rubin, who is an asshole, by the way. But she was basically suing Google. Remember, because they locked her out of her own advertising. She couldn't make any advertisers when she was trending #1 on Twitter after the first debate. They locked her out, so she's suing them. And she says there, she's quoted as saying to Dave Rubin, "If this can be done to me, it can be done to you." Well, she's right. I think it's been done to me too. There I am. I'll come back to that in a minute. But I think I'm being suppressed. And I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it. I would love to be able to sue Google as well, to be honest, like Tulsi Gabbard. But take a look at this. No, it's not that one. Over here. So, this is like a statistic thing that shows you all the statistics on my channel. Hello, doggy. Just bear me a second. Ellie, go and lie down. She's woke up. You can see this is my total subscribers weekly. You can see there, I'm going up really quite fast, aren't I? In March, May. I'm really going up quite fast. You can see there my subscribers. You can see. I mean, I added 3,000 subscribers in June. It was really quite fantastic. You can see there, things really did pick up quite big. I was really doing quite well. Really doing quite well. And then I got a letter, didn't I? From Julian Assange. You remember? You know what? Want to know what date I got it? Well, I was screaming at them on June the 14th. It was 3 weeks before that. It was the end of March. So there's the end of March. Sorry, end of May. There we go. So it would have been there. And look at what's happened to my subscribers since. They're flatlined. Absolutely flatlined since. I've been putting out as much content, I think. Maybe a little bit less over the last month or so because, but yeah, I should be going. Well, what do you think? I got a letter from Julian Assange. The UK media ignored that letter, by the way. That was the first words we'd heard. That was the first statement from him we'd heard since he was gagged and thrown in prison. Since he was gagged at the Ecuadorian embassy and then later thrown in prison. It's the first real words we've heard, the first message we've really got from him. And the media ignored it. And then, all of a sudden, my views dried up. Totally and utterly dried up. How can that be? I was being quoted by some of the biggest progressive journalists out there. I was picked up by the world media after that speech that I made. This is about 3 weeks after I received the letter from Julian Assange. I mean, it was pretty good. I'll just fast forward to a bit of it. Yelling in their faces. And since then, my views on YouTube have flatlined. can't get my video being seen by people. It was picked up by France. That was in French media. It was in Spanish media, Italy media. It was even in Australian media. But not the UK. And then straight after, my views just level out. 75% of my views used to come from either searches through Google, searches through YouTube rather, the YouTube search function, or YouTube putting my videos in the recommended thing on the right hand side. It was something like, it was over 75% on most videos I was getting, you know, from algorithmic searches throughout YouTube or algorithmic suggestions. Now it's less than 7. It's less than 7%. It was 75, now it's less than 7. I was on course to be doing, you know, I should be doing 500, 600,000 views a month now. I was on course for doing 300,000 in May, I think it was. Since then, I'm struggling to get over 100,000 now. You tell me, subscribers, my videos, I think I've been getting better. My message is becoming more clear, more clarity. It's got more clarity to it. It's got more punch. I'm getting better. Repetition is the mother of excellence. But my views are going down. I get no secondary pickup on my videos anymore. None. They used to get secondary pickup in that you would release a video, your subscribers saw it, YouTube would check out how it was received, you know, how many likes to discounts, how many comments, what percentage of it is watched. And some of my videos are way over 60% percentage of them watched on average, which is extremely high. But now, once they figure that out, you get secondary pickup about 16, 17 hours later, and then you get, your video will get a jump because it's hit the algorithm. You know, I don't get that anymore. I don't get a secondary bump, as they call it, on any videos. None. I think I've done one video in the last 3 months that has got over 10,000 views. One. That used to be a regular occurrence. It used to happen every couple of days. Not anymore. I have been silenced. I have been absolutely silenced. I've been suppressed by my own country, my own government. I had just got my head above water, just got to the stage where, you know, I could survive. And now I'm going backwards. And I come back from London and I've got people saying, yeah, there was somebody outside going through your bins, Gordon. Yeah, people going through my bins. Strange people that nobody's ever seen before going through my bins. Come back to a court summons for council tax from London that I can't pay anymore. This is what they're doing to me. They're crippling me. And is anybody, any MPs standing up for people like me? Are any MPs standing up for people like me? None. None. You mentioned standing up for the media to them and they think you're talking about The Guardian. They don't give a crap about people like me. Why? Because I'm what the Fourth Estate should be. I'm adversarial. I ask tough questions. I could nail any of them in 2 questions. I would have them squirming in the seat, which is why they would never let me anywhere near them. But it shouldn't be that way. We're the people who should be in the room asking these questions. The last time I saw an MP ask a politician what I would consider a good question, it was Michael Crick with Theresa May when she was asking him about Nelson Mandela, when he really did nail her hypocrisy on Nelson Mandela. And you know what happened? I don't think she gave Channel 4 an interview for the rest of her premiership. No, these MPs, they're all, too busy lauding Guardian journalists. Now, I'm going to send an email out tomorrow to, I've actually got it written, I've just got to get a MailChimp and set up the whole thing to send it to everybody. But I've written an email out to you all. If you have been a patron of mine, if you have ever sent money at all, you can go to my website, by the way, and sign up to my newsletter if you want to get this email. And I just want to thank people. Anybody who's sent me $1 or whatever it is, some people have sent me 10 cents in the past, Whatever you've done, thank you. Just thank you. I'm going to be sending out a letter tomorrow just to thank you and to thank your support, because I'm not doing this for money. I'm not. But I really would like to be able to support myself, and at the moment I'm not. I understand that will come as I get bigger, but they're not letting me get bigger at the moment. I get it. I will. They're not going to beat me. They're not. They're not going to beat me. I do want to send a thank you out to you all. Just to thank you. I've never, I don't think, really sent a letter of thanks to people before, so I'm going to. And I've got some videos coming tomorrow that I'll explain, what I'm doing going forward. I've got a video on the Sam Smith nonsense. You've probably heard about this Sam Smith nonsense. This Sam Smith, this singer who has decided decided that everybody must call him them or they, or he's come out as they. I've got a video coming out on that. And not surprisingly, I'll be talking about Chelsea Manning a hell of a lot in that, and the hypocrisy with him. I've also got a video coming out tomorrow on Julian Assange, and it's a video that I am recording, and it's a direct message to all 650 MPs. I will be sending it to all 650 MPs and demanding that they respond to me. It'll be in a video message about Julian Assange, because essentially now, well, his time is up on the 22nd of September. He should be out. Yeah, but he's not. They're just going to keep him hold him in prison. Confirming now that Julian Assange is a political prisoner. Confirming now that all of these people saying, oh, Sweden, 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 were all assholes. I've also got a video that I'm going to be doing on my first ever video on 9/11. Specifically on World Trade Center Building 7. You know what? I've avoided 9/11 and talking about it on my channel. And you know why? It's because I was worried that they would use that to suppress my channel. Now they're doing it. What's the point in me even trying to play by the rules? They've been suppressing my channel. And I've been, if you notice, for the last few months, I don't swear anymore on my channel. I don't swear nearly as much as I used to. I'm trying to bend to their will. And they're still suppressing me. So yeah, I'll be talking about the World Trade Center and Building 7 and how the media in this country, rather than talk about 9/11 on its anniversary properly, i.e. ask questions that need answering, questions such as, I don't know, this one, for instance, from the World Socialist website. US Attorney, oops, has that gone weird? US Attorney General Barr invokes state secrets to cover up Saudi involvement in 9/11. Last week it was revealed that the Trump administration has taken extraordinary steps to continue the 18-year cover-up of Saudi government involvement in the September 11th, 2001 attacks. On Thursday, September the 12th, one day after the 18th anniversary of the attacks of New York and Washington that killed nearly 3,000 people, a federal court filing revealed that Attorney General William Barr has asserted the, quote, state secrets privilege to block the release of an FBI report detailing extensive relations between some of the 19 hijackers and Saudi government officials. So, the same, the same one that they're trying to say, the same country that they're trying to say, we're going to go to war now on their behalf, Trump is saying, we're locked and loaded to defend you. The hijackers were talking to their officials, were they? And you're just suppressing that, are you, General Barr, Attorney General Barr? While all that's going on, our media is honestly saying, remembering 9/11, and also I saw one of our great independent magazines, independent media organisations, independent, who I called out a few months ago for doing this, chasing green News Guard racings. Whitney Webb saw it. Damn, I was so pleased when she spotted that. And they write, they did an article about how all conspiracy theories about 9/11, it's not good, What about the questions that we really would like answering? I've got a video about that. I've also, I don't know whether you've noticed on Twitter, if you follow me on Twitter, I've started taking the gloves off with a lot of journalists and politicians recently. I'll give you an example. Dear Owen Jones, what do you think about Assange being thrown in our Gitmo in an act of fascism on home soil on behalf of an ex-game show host for proving war criminals are war criminals? Or are you too busy celebrating Sam Smith coming out as they to respond, asking for a friend? Start doing it. Be nice. Be nice. Don't swear at them and whatever. Be polite. But get your point across. Ram your point home. Peter Hitchens pissed me off. For some reason, he's on a crusade against cannabis, Peter Hitchens. And he speaks and retweets anybody who, if you tweet at him, he'll retweet you. He'll respond to you every time. I think he just sits there all day long responding to everything that anybody ever says to him on Twitter. And he said, this is the intellectual level of my opponents in the cannabis debate. So I said to him, come on and have a chat with me from my channel, Peter. You'll soon see the intellectual level of your opponents is substantially higher than you give them credit for. I'll even come and meet you at the venue of your choosing to film it. He pissed me off. Pissed me off in his response. I have met them many times, thanks. I have no desire to promote your channel. Demeaning me. Belittling me. Dear Clark Meeker. Dear Peter Hitchens. What do you think about Assange being thrown in our Gitmo in an act of fascism on a home soil on behalf of an ex-game show host for the crime of proving war criminals are war criminals? Or are you too busy demonising a plant? Asking for a friend. Strangely, Peter Hitchens, who answers every question that anybody asks him on Twitter, didn't answer that one. Perhaps that's why you wouldn't come on the show. I've got to do a video about George Monbiot or Monbiot or something like that. He said something about the other day. He said that Assange should be sent to Sweden. No charges in Sweden, obviously. But yeah, I've been taking the gloves off with a lot of journalists, and it's going to continue. I'm facing suppression like you wouldn't believe. And Ian 56. People like him, they're the truth tellers. Happy non-constitution day, he says. The entire world is upside down. The criminals go free. Liars on TV are paid millions. Honest people who tell the truth are persecuted and suppressed. And whistleblowers get jailed. The US, the UK are not free countries, and they have no rule of law. And there you see there's the words of the great George Carlin. You know something is wrong when the criminals are free and the people who expose their crimes are in jail or have to flee. That is the world we live in, everybody. Thanks very much for watching. I'm just going to check, make sure I didn't miss any. Yeah, BBC has since stated that it was a coincidental mistake. You're talking about World Trade Center 7. Yeah, we were talking about that, weren't we, the other day on WC7. It's it's hilarious. Honestly, the BBC's own response to it is comical. If BBC's own response to it is, it's oh come on, and nobody wants to say it. It's like, oh yeah, okay. And if you say, oh, come on, you're a conspiracy theorist. Cuckoo. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. I don't think I had any... super chats today. I just want to check. Make sure I didn't miss them. No, I didn't. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Yeah, there'll be no more videos tomorrow. I'll cut the videos from this one and drop those as well. Thanks very much for your support. I really can't do it without your support, and I appreciate it. My dog just knows when I'm wrapping up, don't you? You just know when I'm wrapping up, don't you? Come on then. Thanks very much, everyone. Peace. Take care. And yeah, we've got to beat these bastards. We really have. Love you all. Good night, everyone.